I know you're not going to like me saying this, but I am an expert in the human condition and the reality of our species. So, the guests on this show on CBC today, on the 30th, they make a lot of sense, and they actually should be advising politicians, and they should be asking politicians the right questions based on their decisions. Except that we don't have a science-based culture, right? We don't have a science-driven culture. And also, one thing you have to talk about is the only way we would meet, or most countries of the world really, their climate obligations, if they want to consider themselves humans, sentient sapiens, responsible adults to have children and raise them and think of the future in any way, is they'd have to include carbon limits in the sense that Canada should already, because these are conversations that should have been had. And this is what I'd tell them if I was one of the specialists, is we're talking about important things that should have been resolved in the early 1980s or late 1970s. Okay, they're really outdated, these conversations, and they're the most advanced we get from CBC. And it's important because most people are not that advanced in their thinking. So we still need to have them, but we're screwed because we're having them 45 years too late. So that tells me that any planning a country like Canada would do, if they think they're smart about understanding the natural world. And somebody said something earlier which offends me. Oh, it's not an economic natural law. Don't mix up magic and scientific paradigms, right? Reality and fiction shouldn't be mixed up in conversations. I know there's a way you intended to use that it explains something. Just don't do it. You're just increasing cognitive dissonance by pretending that economics is a part of the natural world, and that's a topic about the natural world. Okay, so you're really outdated in your connection with reality. And it tells me that already, like if you sign a memorandum agreement, whatever, with Alberta, it should be that we now will no longer accept people living past 55 years old. That means they really never get a retirement, really, because that's the only way to reduce carbon. Don't have these people live longer in Canada or Alberta if these are your plans and you want to meet these targets as if you're sentient, sapient creatures. So start thinking about this. Don't force the natural world to make the hard decisions for you, because you'll never be able to counter-terraform the planet enough to control it that it won't fire back at you. Right? And it's not going to be personal. It's going to be you're just disrupting things, and there are ways that you understand or are prepared for that, like ancient pathogens in the permafrost, for example, but also running out of food because, it becomes more and more impossible to grow food. And then you'll kill each other in violent ways instead of making laws where people say, okay, I'm going to live only 55 years old because the Alberta and Canadian government decided that was the economic path for the future, and I accept I can't live past this because the carbon emissions in the economic plan they're making won't work unless I shorten my lifespan. So that's what you should be talking about, because you're having these conversations at least 45 years too late.